Welcome to Arts and Minds for session 10. Last week, we started a road trip, a cross-Canada road trip by art, because we can't do it in real life, so we're doing it through art. And we went last week to Newfoundland. That's where we started, and we did, I hope you did, this painting of the Jelly Bean houses in St. John's. So we're going to stay in the maritime area region of Canada, but we're going to leap across to Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia is one of our small provinces, but it's absolutely beautiful, known for its spectacular seascapes, its quaint little fishing villages, and also some pretty major and lovely cities like Halifax. Probably what it's most known for are its lighthouses. There are 160 of them. That's not a fact that I just happen to have in my head. I looked it up, and there are 160 lighthouses in Nova Scotia, and that's what we're going to do. This one is probably the most famous one. It's the lighthouse at Peggy's Cove and St. Margaret's Bay. Probably the most photographed scene in perhaps all of Canada. So that's what we're going to do today. What you will need, whatever medium you're going to use, paint, watercolor, or acrylic. Again, you can use pencil, you can use colored pencils, watercolor crayons, and then the paper that suits your medium. If you're using paints, you're going to have, you will want to have two brushes, a fairly large one and quite a small one. You're going to need, of course, a container of water, piece of paper towel. For the colors, you will need two different shades of blue. I've used a turquoise for this, turquoise or cerulean blue, some light blue for the water, and above I've used an ultramarine, but you can use a darker blue here. Red, of course, for the top of the lighthouse. And then for the rest, you're going to need black and white, because we're going to try to mix up a gray. You'll need sort of a sandy color, browny color, maybe a bit of orange, or pinky color here. And I think that's it for the materials. So, oh, and I must say that when I did this, I chose a small format for this one because I thought it was sort of like a postcard from Nova Scotia. So you might want to do that too. You don't need to have a great big piece of paper today. So take a moment and gather up your materials for our postcard from Nova Scotia. Okay, we're ready to go. Our line drawing. And again, I've done the line drawing with very dark marker. When you're doing yours, do it with pencil lightly, because you want to be able to cover it up with the paint. So the thing about this line drawing is, with this particular picture, is to keep it as simple as possible. So I've started with this line, which shows the rock ledge here. It's about halfway up the page, not quite, and a curved line like this. The lighthouse at Peggy's Cove, like this, it has sides. It has four sides. It's not round. It has four sides. And when I was doing this and I put this ledge above it, I put those windows really not in the right place because this is kind of an edge here. So you might want to figure that this is one side here. So move these little windows over a little bit. It doesn't really make a whole lot of difference, but just to be more accurate. Okay, the top of the lighthouse, where the light part is, and then the cap on the top. And then there's a little out building here, which I suppose is the entrance into the lighthouse with the door. The horizon line, straight across. And then I've put on the far side of the horizon, just to show that there are some hills over there in the far distance. Okay, but keep your drawing simple. Don't add a lot of any more detail than you have to that. All right. So take a moment and with light pencil, do your drawing of the lighthouse at Peggy's Cove. Okay, now we're ready to paint. And I'm going to paint on this. We're going to start with the red at the top of the lighthouse. So I'll use my small brush for this. Okay, I'll mix up a bright red for this so it really stands out. Okay. Now let me just, as I often do, let me just move this, especially since this is so such a small picture today. Hope you can see that. Okay, that's the only red part. So, and we're going to stay with the lighthouse for a second. And now I'm going to do a bit of, I'm going to assume that the sun is coming this way. The light is over here. So I'm going to put some shadow on this side of the lighthouse. It's white, but we're going to just make a bit of shadow. Make it with a little bit of gray, mix up a bit of gray here, and just put a bit of shadow here on this side here. Hope that shows up. And also because this is kind of behind, it's much in the shadow as well. And underneath here as well. Also, a little bit up here at the top where this is where the light is, up in here. You might want to just, with a wet brush, just drag that out a bit. So it's not such a sharp edge. Right. Let me just try this. Oops, that's really too dark. That's, well, maybe not. You want it to be seen. You want to see the shadow. That's okay. I think that's okay. Yeah, I think that's better. Just have a little bit darker there on the side. And play around with that a bit. Okay. All right. And then while you've got dark, you've got sort of a dark black, then do those windows, which you may have moved over to the side. Whoops, and it's running down. Okay, there we go. Windows and this door. And that's it. That's it for the paint on the lighthouse. So take a minute, pause, and do your lighthouse. Okay, now let's do the water. Let's do the bay, St. Margaret's Bay. I've used sort of a turquoise color for mine. Just mix this up so I like it. There we go. Okay, I quite like that. All right, so just, that's good. Keep it quite wet. Okay. I'm going to try something here. There's no guarantee this is going to work. But I've scrunched up a little bit of Kleenex here, and I'm just going to try. What I was trying to do with that, and I don't know that it's very effective, I was trying to give the impression that there's water shooting up, but I don't, you can try, but I don't think that was very successful. But all right, let's put a little turquoise over here. Oops. There we go. Come back over to the other side here for a second, put a little more in. Don't think it's quite dark enough. Sometimes when, well, particularly with watercolor, when you're putting on, it gets lighter as it dries, and so then you think, oh, I wish I had made that a bit darker. So um, now's the time to do that. Um, okay, so maybe you should pause now and do the water in St. Margaret's Bay. Okay, we're ready to do the sky. I'd like you to try something today with the sky. If you're using watercolors, use either your big, no, I can't use your big brush. Use a clean brush if you should happen to have one. I didn't ask you to put that on your list, but if you have a clean brush that you haven't yet used, okay, use that and have a separate container of water that you're not using for mixing, for cleaning your brushes. And just put water on the sky, just on the surface. And just make it wet, not soaking wet, but just wet. Spread that out. Then right away, I'm using my big brush for this, my ultramarine blue. Okay. And then I'm just going to start putting in some sky, and it will run. It'll just move itself around because of the water that's on there. Okay. Got that little bit of turquoise left on that brush. And it's sort of, you can just kind of move your brush around a bit. Yeah, twizzle it. A little darker. It's always darker up at the top. We have a fair bit of white for clouds. And I'm going to now just bring this down. I didn't put any more paint on the brush, just bringing it down. It's light along where it meets the horizon. Okay, well, I'm going to leave that like that, and you go ahead and paint your sky. Okay, now we're going to do the rocks. Rocks are kind of tricky. The rocks are just a variety of colors. You look at them, you see gray, you see pink, you see sandy color, you see dark, you see all sorts of colors in rocks. So I'm going to start by just mix that up a bit. Okay, I'm going to just start by putting some gray. And I'm not trying to make them look like rocks. I'm just trying to give the impression that these are rocks here. I'm going to try to keep this side a bit lighter because it's in the sunny side. A little more gray. And trying not to get too fussy, trying to keep it fairly simple. All right, while it's still wet, clean your brush, tap it a bit dry. And now I'm going to put in a bit of a brownie orangey brown color, sort of a sandy color. Yeah, like that. And again, just wherever you like. and spread it. Use the flat part of your brush a bit here, flatten it a bit. Don't forget, don't be afraid to just leave white. I like that with watercolor. And I'm going to add, as I did in the reference, just to that sandy color, just a little bit of a sort of pinky color. I don't want too much of that. And you see, I'm just putting it, there's no particular place for this. I'm just putting it here and there. Okay, and I am deliberately sort of leaving white here. Okay. All right. Now, just to add some features that might look like cracks in the rock. I might put just a little bit of sort of lines here and there. I'm not trying to define each rock. I'm just putting a bit. A little darker up there. A little darker along the ridge. Maybe down here. Anyway, there. Okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave the rock like that. When you whatever medium you're using, you know, just play around with it until you like the look of it. But again, don't try to you know, draw individual rocks. That's just too fussy. So just give the impression that that's a rocky ledge. And while I still have sort of a dark color mixed up here, dark gray, I'm going to, with a very small brush, do these hills in the distance, in the far distance. Not too dark. So, okay, and there you have it. This is Peggy's Cove, and if we just go back to the reference, actually, I kind of like that one better. But anyway, you can you do it the way you want to do it. But so that's it. That's our postcard from Peggy's Cove. We're not quite finished yet, but I hope you have fun with that. So before we end, I want to just mention to you, and you will see, Herman will put up on the screen some photos that we received from people who have been inspired to do work from the art activities, and they may not have done the art activities exactly as we did them, but they were inspired to do something else. And one that you will see is from a ceramic artist who likes to work with clay, and she's made a plate and used the tulip theme that we did as decoration on the plate. Another one, also with the tulips, and somebody did, and I think it's with colored pencils, and it was a lovely greeting card, which was, I must say, was very happy to get. And then another one, somebody who really liked, the looseness of the dandelion painting, but didn't want to do dandelions. So she used that style, but she did poppies instead. So just to show you that, you know, use these art activities and be as creative as you want to be. And again, please do send us photos of what you've done. We'd love to get them. Okay, that's it. Then we'll continue our cross-country tour next week, and we'll have a postcard from someplace else. Right. In the meantime, take care.